Well, I'm in my office, eating my breakfast. That's a Pop-Tart, correct. I'm 42. Pop-Tarts were acceptable breakfast material when I was a kid. They've been in the cupboard for a month because Amy won't let the kids eat them. It's weird, eh? Stuff that we had as nourishment when we were kids. Unacceptable food for kids now. Oh. I'm up a little bit later today because we got to Ohio last night, Cleveland to race. Yes, West 52nd. We'll talk about that in a minute. My co-pilot, Ollie, came with me. Northfield runs the race off slow, and in fact so slow that the 11th race actually went behind the gate 1 hour and 3 minutes later than it was supposed to. If you can believe that. In 10 races, they were off by an hour. Now it's a big night, and they had the Milstein Memorial. That was a bit of a boat race. And they had a couple other races, big races and stake races, so they drug it out. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We didn't actually get in the car till 10:20. When I punched in the GPS to get from Northfield to my house, it said 3:13 in the morning I would get home. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to stop halfway. You know, Ollie's going to sleep most of the way home anyway. And he was okay with that. Whether we stopped at a hotel or whether we drove through, it really didn't affect Oliver's life. He was going to sleep regardless. So I get on the phone. I talk to a couple of our clients, guys I talk to after the races all the time. Talked to John Evans a little bit via text before I left. And then Johnny Shue and Brian Hockman, give them a shout out for keeping me alive on the road. I talked to them virtually almost the whole way home, until I get into Canada anyway. I also got pulled over in New York last night. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing 74. I guess it dropped down to a 55 or something. There's nobody on the roads, you know, and a cop pulls me over. He was a nice guy, but these tickets are ridiculous. I get a ticket in New York, all right? So you got to plead guilty. I've looked at this 9 times. There is no amount due. You literally have to plead guilty, send the ticket back in via snail mail, because they don't accept credit card or anything in this township. Funny that this township has a casino, lots of infrastructure, but you can't pay by credit card. And they have to send you how much your ticket was for. I've never seen this in my life. No, I'm not admitting to being pulled over a lot of times in my life, but there's no price tag on this. So I guess I just send it back and hope they don't charge me a lot, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I got pulled over. It's not the end of the world. I pulled over in New York, just outside the border. Ollie wasn't too concerned. He didn't even wake up. He slept through the whole thing. He tried to actually argue with me that we didn't get pulled over, which we did. Anyway, I got home 2:55 in the morning. Got up at 9:45, laid in bed for a little while. So I thought I'd do my videos and get this out of the way, because today, flying to PEI. Going to PEI, gonna go home for a mini vacation, 2 mini vacations. I'm gonna fly home Sunday. I'm gonna be there for Monday for the trial for Brave World. And then I'm gonna fly to Ohio to race Overdue Mission and Susie K and another horse we're gonna get to in a minute. Ale Sun, that's right, I just licked my arm. Ale Sun. And then Wednesday we have Globetrotting, spend that money, and Compass Rose DC. So those 3 fillies are sitting first, second, and third in Ohio right now. That's quite the accomplishment. Pretty proud of that. I was going to go over how the horses raced this week, what went on this week. Then I said, you know what, I'm going to talk about how we've done in each jurisdiction, the horses we have. Then I was terrified I'm going to miss somebody. So we're going to do it all. I'm not going to make a top 10 list this week. Again, not a lot of horses raced this week. We had the Colts race in Philadelphia. They didn't really move the needle as far as jumping on or off the list. All of them were a little bit, in one form or another, sick. Willpower Fashion had a little bit of infection in his throat. That'll get cleaned up. Plus, he was a little bit short coming in. I thought he looked awesome. Again, caught the toughest division, fastest division. Libero Hanover slid a bit. Didn't scope that bad, but there must be something in his blood. Something's going on with that Colt. He's not right at all. And then mechanically he seems fine. He's letting go. Feels like he's bleeding is what he feels like, but there's no blood. We've seen this movie before with Harness AM. So we're really gonna nail down on that this week. Not much we can do in the way of putting him on the Lasix program, because I think you have to wait. I know in Ontario it's 14 days. So anyway, that's all here. It's neither here nor there because we don't know if he's bleeding for certain. And then Sebastian Yu was obviously sick. I was happy he was behaved. Was he behaved because he was sick, or was he behaved because of the changes we made? Had I known there was something wrong with him, I would have backed in down the backstretch and been up 3/4, 129 and 2 probably. That might have saved him some steam for the head of the lane, but I thought off a half a minute and a piece, you know, he would easily trot a half in 57. We had to let him trot that half in 57, put away the horses in behind us, and trot to the winner's circle wrapped up, right? And that didn't happen. But he raced okay. And then he finished 4th for a horse that was a little sick. I'd say he raced very well. Then we had the fillies. Just for Me and You didn't get in this week. She's going to have to be trained up at the Meadows. Path of Totality and Rosa and Versatile, both a little short coming in. Both scoped like they had the remnants, just the end of something, which is good in that respect. And then Monday we had Knockdown Dragout. Harness AM is joining the Lasix program. I don't know when John is going to put her in to go. I'm curious myself. I have to give him a call today for a couple of things, so I'll find out today the schedule. It looks like Harness AM's heading to Kentucky. As I had said to John, right now Harness AM's sitting 7th, I think, in points with 2 divisions left. It looks like the same horses are going to get all the points, so this would probably knock her just down into where we really want her to be, which is the consolation. If she goes to the last 2 legs of Kentucky and does okay, we might be able to find her into the consolation in both places, potentially, which would be really good. Mathematically, we get to miss the best of the best in both places and race against horses she could probably really compete with. So that would be best case scenario, I think, for Harness AM. Knockdown Dragout's going to have to do good in her next 2 to drive up into the final or the consolation. Well, I'm sure she can get to the consolation, but the final for sure. Mac Kakali's going to drive her Monday for us. I'm in PEI. I really hope he gets along well with her for a number of reasons. And for the people that own her, you know why. But I hope that he gets along well with her because she's a nice filly. I think she's where she is right now, where a normal driver could drive her and drive her well and get along well with her. Before, I just don't think that was going to be a problem, or that was going to be a problem. You saw how hot she was. Andrew's done a great job keeping her feet manageable, but now working on them even more. I suspect you'll see by far the best form of Knockdown Dragout on Monday evening at the Poconos, I hope. That's Pennsylvania. We don't have any Pacers there, I believe. No, Colt, no Pacer, no. So you just have the Colt might. I'll play it alone. Might go to the Poconos. He's skipping the Meadows. I want to see. Oh, it was yesterday. I want to go back and look and see how they did at the Meadows, and then make a decision on whether we're going to the Poconos next week. And he may show up there. He schooled good the other day in the mud. I'm going to ask James to train him in 56 Tuesday before the qualifiers. You might ask, why wouldn't you school him? Because he's a goofball, right? We know what he's like at the gate. He's mildly manageable on a good day. So I don't want to stir him up. I'd rather just train him by himself, which is the opposite of what we like to do. But every horse is a little bit different. You have to recognize that and understand that he's not going to train the same way as Spirit of Dio, so to speak, who trained great on Friday. I'm not very happy that they canceled the Friday qualifying sessions from here on out. It was really helpful to us to have that Tuesday-Friday schedule, but they do that in the fall. I thought it was a little bit premature, but they are finishing building that paddock, so I think every extra day counts for them. They're up against it with the Breeders' Crown coming, so whatever, we'll cut them some slack. So that's Pennsylvania. Indiana, we had Jailhouse Master, who hasn't been racing well, made a dirty break his last start. I talked to Brandon. Brandon wanted to race him one more time. He's going to race on Tuesday. unless he looks really good, he's probably coming home immediately. And then Beach Bum BB is racing good. She's back in to go. The 14th would be what? Must be Wednesday or Thursday. She's in to go. And then Havana Una Na looked fantastic. There's a horse. I got a little list of horses I'm looking for, just quietly horses I want to see this week to see how they behave. On the top of that list, or near the top of that list, is Havana Una Na, who's in on Monday, 6 to 5 morning line. Ryan Stahl, who's done a great job for us this year, both with Yes and with this filly and a couple other horses. Actually, I don't think he's driven a couple other horses, but he's done well with the offerings we've given him, that's for sure. So excited to see how she's going to do. She's going to race hopefully good on Monday and then head right back to Indiana. Jason McGinnis is going to keep her. It's about a 3.5-hour ship, I believe, from the farm in Ohio to Indiana. So I believe Jason is going to race Havana in Indiana on the 20th, which would be Tuesday. So 8 days, a week from Tuesday, Havana Una Na is going back to Indiana. New York, we got Really Blue Chip. A little frustrating to watch her make a break last time out. She's in to go at Monticello this week. Joe Bongiorno is going to drive her. I simply couldn't be there at all. There was like 4 places I needed to be, and PEI is where I'm going to be. So Havana Una Na Monday night picks up or keeps Ryan Stahl, and Joe Bongiorno is going to drive Really Blue Chip. I spoke to Joe Bongiorno in Philadelphia about her. I spoke to Scott. I'm going to send him a message again. You know, hey, could you get Joe to go last trip with Really Blue Chip and make sure those hobbles are tightened up, and I think he'll have a good day with her. I was a little tentative to make this list because we got so many Ontario and Ohio horses. I didn't want to miss anybody. So if I missed somebody, cut me some slack. I literally did this freehand 10 minutes ago. You know, and this is just to point out the horses we have racing right now and how well they're doing. You know, although Knockdown Dragout hasn't really shown her best foot, she still was second in 55 at the Poconos. Harness AM has not missed a check, I believe, all year. Just for Me and You's look great. Path of Totality's won a stake race. Rose on Versatile has been off the board. Libero Hanover's won a stake race. He's looked good. Sebastian Yu won in Maiden, but did it in emphatic fashion, and I think that he'll be good. His next start, and Willpower Fashion's knocking on the door. It's only a matter of time before he gets the winner's circle. Then Havana Una Na, I'm re-energized and re-excited about her. Then you look to Ohio, Globetrotting, Spend That Money, Compass Rose DC, all stake winners. Compass Rose DC is a leading filly in Ohio. Closely behind her are other 2 horses, Globetrotting and Spend That Money. A lot of people were deflated about Spend That Money last time out. Relax. She's a 2-year-old trotting filly. We knew coming in she wasn't going to be tight. She does not like that surface, I think, in Scioto. So we'll see how she races on Wednesday. It's supposed to rain a little bit on Wednesday. That track is going to be tight and hard at Northfield, which would likely be right up her alley. Then we have the fillies. Now, I took a lot of flack about Ailsun moving back into the grassroots. And I think everybody's a little biased when it comes to Ailsun. Realistically speaking, she has her hands full with the 3 fillies I just spoke about in our barn. There's other fillies in Ohio also. So, sure, we could probably sneak her into we raced her in Northfield on Wednesday and then back in Scioto the following week. We might be able to sneak her into the final that goes for $300,000. But much like the situation with Yes, West 52nd, Harness AM, and other horses, we're trying to manage them the best we can. Just because you race for 300, I'd rather race for 50 and get all of it. Look at West 52nd last year in the Constellation. That was our biggest payday of the year in Ohio, and West 52nd looked really good in winning the Constellation. So when I'm looking at Ailsun, I'm saying, okay, there's not a lot of horses in the Buckeye Series. Fillies in the Buckeye Series, I think there's 3 divisions. So at most, there's what, 22, 24 fillies? If she wins, if she's like 1-1 and 1-2 in the last 2 Buckeyes, she can make the Buckeye final, very plausibly, and the Constellation for the Sire Stakes. That's best case scenario for Ailsun and for my partners on her. And I was a little surprised I was faced with such adversity on dropping this filly down. Well, why don't we go back to Northfield where she raced good? Okay, we can do that, but I think you're shooting yourself in the foot. And, you know, I think we need to play the long game when it comes to this filly in particular. It's a big, growthy, strong, all 4 of these fillies in Ohio. And don't kid yourself, there's another one nipping at their heels coming soon. All 4 of these fillies are legit fillies and are hopefully going to have a great finish to the 2019 calendar and then come back for 2020. There's no reason I can't believe that all 4 of them wouldn't. And then you look at Overdue Mission. Overdue Mission has looked absolutely phenomenal her last at least 2 starts I drove her. Jason drove her once. She raced good, 3 starts. That mile in 2.3 in that little bull ring in Ohio was an incredible mile. I had her shut down the whole last quarter. This filly, I'm really excited. She's on my list of horses to watch this week. I'm excited to see how this filly's going to do over Scioto. She's trotting the straightaways great now, and with those big turns in Scioto, I think she's poised to have a big mile on Tuesday afternoon. Susie K is racing good also. Then we have the Colts. They're not as good this year, but they're banging away. Rose Run Valiant's putting I put my stamp on him early, and have continued to double down, and he hasn't really bailed me out yet. But I'm telling you, this is a colt with a good family. He's stupid. He's mentally immature. Looks at everything. When you're looking at everything, you're not paying attention to your work, right? And that's really just it. And this horse misses nothing ever. Jason said he shied away from the tote board in the infield his last start, and these are things he shouldn't be doing. So he's just mentally immature still. I can't wait to go down and drive this horse again. Crazy Mission and Bendover in the sale. But again, I'm not going to let either of those colts go for nothing. I mean, even Crazy Mission, I think if we rested him for a month, brought him back, I could race him in the condition claimers and do good with him all winter long, all spring long. I think he's a useful horse. Probably just not what we were looking for as far as a stake horse. But calling a spade, if he's going for nothing, I'm going to retain Crazy Mission. And Bendover, I believe it's only wise to put a reserve on him. He's done okay in the Buckeye Series. He's got another Buckeye stake left, a number of fairs. He keeps getting better and better. He made that break the other day. You could see the guy drop down in front of him. As soon as Danny Noble jerked him and grabbed him quick, he made a break. But trotted a big last 3 quarters after that. He's up the quarter in like 35 and a piece, 1 mile and 2.3 in a bit, I believe, or 2.4. And then what I would say would be one of our last ever equipment breaks was Sometimes Things Happen, and broke his hobbles and made a break. To me, they didn't chart him with an equipment break, but that was a no-brainer. Just look at what happened. The horse made a break, and his hobbles are hanging off him. I mean, they didn't break before then. The rope broke. So I had bought all the pulleys and ropes off eBay. The ropes they use in harness racing, in a shocker, things they build in the year 2019 aren't durable. It goes about for everything in our life now. So those pulleys are made for, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're rigged for 150 pounds of pressure. It's a horse. The pulleys that I bought, 7,000 pounds. I could hoist a horse with the ones we bought. And the ropes we bought are rock climbing ropes. You know, they're not breaking either. So I should have done this years ago. Nevertheless, sometimes things happen. Again, with a good performance next time, he could find himself in the final. He's starting to look good, this colt. Really like him. And yours, if you want it. We made that quick switch over to Ken Holiday. A number of things went into that. He is in the sale. He's poised to win the sale. I want to make sure we have all the stones unturned in this guy. And if we decide to sell him or retain him, I want to know going in with open eyes what we have. I'm pretty sure we know already, but worth having another look. So Ken Holiday is going to race him, where are they at? Zanesville on Monday with Valiant, Crazy Mission, Bendover, and Sometimes Things Happen. So there, again, 3, 6, 10 stake horses, 10 stake 2-year-olds racing in Ohio. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 legitimate stake horses that are going to make their finals racing in Pennsylvania. Then we look at Ontario. Scoot over to Ontario really quick, and you got, this is the one I'm worried I'm missing somebody. Need Your Opinion. She trained great on the weekend. Capistrano looked good. Now we're going to take Capistrano to the vet on Monday. Her and Johan are going to the vet. Johan to get his leg checked to see if he's healed up and we can start doing stuff, or whether he needs to be cryoed, where he's at physically with that injury he had in his hind leg. And then Capistrano, that left hind still bothers her. I can see it. We trained them in 57 on Friday at Mohawk. Capistrano, better Giddy Up Max, and Don't Believe Me, Just Watch, all trained in 57 on Friday. Capistrano still seems a little tender on that left hind. I just want to know what it is. If it's something that we can manage, then good. We need to start managing it. If it's not, then we need to take a serious look at that. But she pulled up great and seemed great afterwards. So Capistrano and Johan heading to the vet. Need Your Opinion. Trafalgar, another week and a half in the pool, and she's back in training, hopefully, tentatively looking at an x-ray of that tibia, and to get a green light from the vet would be very, very good on our part. Wiggle Delight obviously was sick the other day, fizzled out the last 100 yards, but looking at the scope afterwards, it's pretty easy to see why. She went on antibiotics the next day. I don't know if I want to take her to Hanover, and she's not quite there yet to race in the Eternal Damnation, so we're going to have to see. We're going to have to put our thinking caps on this week to see what we're going to do with Wiggle Delight. Inland Beach was in with her, raced well the other night, paced 55. We entered those horses in 2 different classes, and the race office combined them. She was supposed to be in the non-winners of 7,000, where Wiggle Delight was supposed to be in the 2-year-old race, but they only had enough fillies for 7 or 8 in one race and just jammed them all in together. I was happy with what I saw from Inland Beach. Miss Brampton Beast, obviously a big mile out of her last week at Georgian. That first quarter was not 27-1 or 27-2. I don't know what went on there, but I've driven enough horses to know that wasn't a 27-second quarter. Nevertheless, she raced good. She won. I thought she was missing that high gear that I was expecting. Maybe she just needed to have her world shook up a little bit. That should have done it. So I told Travis, he's got the rail with her in the same class. I said, right down the road again, not at all cost. Don't burn her into the ground, but I would suspect she'll garner a fair amount of respect from the outside horses. You shouldn't have to use her too hard, but we're making a little equipment change on her too this week. So I expect another good mile out of her. Marzank Hanover raced well on the weekend. Now, the only thing I didn't want was to see Watch Avenue on the front end, and Clark put him right on the front end and burned him into the ground a little bit, and he got weak. And he didn't race that well. Kevin said he was a little bit sick afterwards also, but should have been in the 3-hole.